today's lesson, we are diving into the new ZIPForms. So I personally clicked on the new ZIPForms. It was probably 3 months ago now. It looked scary to me. I immediately said abort, abort, and like figured out how to get back to the old one. But I'm ready to tackle the new one now because it's actually pretty cool. It's not as scary as it looked. So we're going to walk you through that. It's called Transact instead of ZIPForms. Instead of Lone Wolf, ZIPForms edition, it's going to be Transact. It's got some really cool features. All right. So give me just a second here. And remember, these trainings are meant to be interactive. So the more questions that you have, the more that you interact, you can throw them in the chat box. You can interrupt me. Whatever works for you, raise your little Zoom handy. The more interactive you are, the better it is. So car.org is how you get to your transactions, realtor secure transactions, log in. If yours gives you the option to log into the new Zip forms, like take that, go ahead and take the risk and do it. If it doesn't, the way that you get to the new one is when you go in to create a new transaction, so a new listing or a new purchase, it's going to give you the option of going with the new one versus the old one and choose the new one. This is it. Again, it's not going to be super scary. Let's go here. I think it opens up to Deal Tracker. So if you were previously with another real estate company, this might look kind of familiar because it does to me a little bit, but they're going to make it where you can actually use this as your CRM if you wanted to, or your contact relationship manager. If nothing else, you could utilize this as you have people that you're meeting with that you think are going to buy, like maybe those that, your database, which we'll talk about this more next week as we dive into how to set up your database successfully. Those that are thinking they're going to transact in the next year, you may want to go ahead and move them over here. Okay. Because we could lead those into warm prospects. Hot prospects are ones you're working on to try to get like a signed buyer agreement or a signed listing agreement. Okay. And then your active clients are going to be those active listings or your buyers that are actively looking for properties that you have that BRBC signed. Okay. If there's no BRBC, your buyer representation and broker compensation form, if there's no signed BRBC, they should not be in your active clients. If they are, you should go get it signed. Okay. So signed listing agreement, signed BRBC. Little side note on listings too. I know some people hold out on getting listing agreements signed. I learned the hard way. Don't do what I did. Even with friends, if they're talking about listing their house, you're helping to give them suggestions to get their house ready to go on the market. Even if it's not ready to go on the market yet, get that listing agreement signed. It doesn't have to go in the MLS right away. You can delay entry into the MLS. But you want that signed listing agreement. I had friends of mine, we did all sorts of work on a listing, helping to get that house ready. I even went as far as to help them get new drawer fronts made because they were missing drawer fronts. And then at the last minute, they decided to list with somebody else. So it's never too early to get that listing agreement signed. Don't let people drag you along. Do not work for free. Wah, wah, wah. All right. Once they're you've got an accepted offer, you're going to put them under contract, and then once it's closed, obviously closed. Now, the cool thing about this is that it allows you to do like if you made an offer on a property and then that offer didn't get accepted, it's all right. You move on. Or if something fell out of contract, you can mark it as such and start over. So it's kind of a cool thing here that we have our deal tracker. If we want to add a deal, we just come up here to add and we'd go new transaction. So if you were coming into ZIPForms to write an offer or getting a listing agreement signed, we would just click new transaction. It's going to say, hey, is it a new purchase or new listing, right? Very similar to how ZIPForms roll. It's just a little cleaner and more modern looking. I feel like it's a little less cluttered looking. Okay. The cool thing here is that if, let's say we were doing a purchase, right? If we were doing a purchase, sorry, I was meant listing. But if we were doing a purchase, we use MLS Connect, right? Import listing data, go in there, find it on the MLS and pull all the data in. This allows you to do the same thing. But for a listing, right, from right here, we can go import listing data. We can go import source. Is it coming from MLS Connect or tax source, right? And then you could search by property address. So maybe we're going to go, okay, and then maybe try the zip code and then hit import. It says property imported successfully. So I've got listing, I imported the property data from the tax records. Okay. And then now if you had templates set up, you can pull that template in. So I went in and I'll show you how to set up the templates here in a little bit, but I've got a template set up for residential listing, Solano County. So I'm going to select that. It allows you right ahead of time. Hey, are there things that you want or things that you don't want? Okay, so super cool there. You can edit the template from this. You can uncheck boxes if there's things you didn't want it to import in. Like maybe this listing wasn't in Solano County, but I don't have YOLO set up yet. So maybe I don't want that Solano County disclosure pulled over yet, right? I can uncheck it or I can recheck it. Okay, next. Here is the property information. It pulled over the APN number for me. It pulled over the full address for me, the year that it was built. It did not select the property type, so I went ahead and selected that for it. And then list date. Am I sending out this listing agreement today? Is it going out tomorrow? That would be your list date. If you had a list price already in mind, you could throw that in here. If you don't, you could leave that blank, right? And then listing expiration. That depends on how you run your listing agreements. I like to have them all end about the same time, or at least at the end of a month. Okay. It's got the legal description in there already. And then you could fill in things that it includes or excludes if there were specific items. Okay. Next. Now it's saying, hey, let's add the parties. It's already adding me as the listing agent. If I wanted to add a seller, I could click add seller. It's going to search my contacts here. Okay, if I don't know if it's got if it pulls from my previous contacts. So let's see what it does here. No, so it's not pulling. So all your contacts are going to have to get re-entered in. So if I want seller, oops, let's spell seller. That's what I should have started with. So I'm just going to hit, hey, we want to create a new contact. The role, this is going to be seller one. So we're just going to come down here and say, hey, this is seller. First name is seller. Last name is one. Email is seller one at transact.com. There we go. You put in the phone number there, right? And if you want to save this to your contacts, we just click that little box and hit save. So the next time we don't have to search for it. Okay, if you wanted to add another party, you just click on that, add another seller in there. So if we wanted to add seller two, we'd go create new. Role here is seller. Two. Seller two at. Okay. And we're going to save, right? So that's, and we can always add parties later, so you don't have to add them right here. Then I'm going to hit create transaction. Okay. So, right. So this works very much like ZIPFORMS did previously. It just looks a little different. I feel like it's also a little bit more user friendly as far as like functionality, and it's not quite as clunky. All right. It named this file for me with the name of the address. Okay. That's how I like to name my listings anyways. If you see here, there's a 2, and that's because I already did this as a practice file once. So now it's got a second one. You could add a picture if you wanted to there. And then it imported all of those documents, okay, that were on my thing. If I wanted to add documents to this, I would just come over here and hit add paperwork. Here I can access my forms library, just like adding documents inside of ZIPForms. I can search those by the acronym, by name, right? So however that is. And then I just click add. It shows a little green check mark if it's already in that library. Okay, so super easy. You also have the ability here to upload. So you can, that's where I got the Solano County disclosure. I went to the Northern Solano Association of Realtors website. I pulled that Solano County disclosure. Then I browsed files, saved it, and uploaded it. Okay, so that's how I got that Solano County in there as far as my templates went. Okay, so that's how you're going to add forms. So very similar. You could have created a folder, right? So you could organize these if you really like organization. You could create a new folder and put like listing paperwork and then put everything into that folder if you wanted to. Let's see here. You can apply a template after the fact by clicking the three little dots in the upper left corner. You can export this, you can archive it, or you can delete it. Okay, so you've got lots of options. If I come up here and click on the name, I think I can. No, I can't edit it up there. All right, so there you go. That's how it rolls there. If we want to edit something, okay, let's just click on something. It's going to take us over to the same editor that we had previously. Okay, so nothing new here in the forms editor. Super simple. Here, it's given us the workspace. It says our FERPTA's in the workspace. It gives us our rest of our documents. The difference here is this used to be on the left or the right-hand side. I think I said left previously. Sorry, I'm not good with right and left. Now it's on the left-hand side where we could grab things from the transaction. You can also add documents or upload them from your computer, just like you would have normally. Here's your party information, listing information, clauses, tools. Those are all on the right-hand side. Okay, so this works just the same. Prepare for signing is going to take you into Authentisign, or it's probably going to give you the option that if you wanted to do your DocuSign as well. Okay, so same idea there. So I'm not going to go into that because once we get into the edit, it's the same as ZIPForms. Okay, I am going to hit back to go back to my transaction. Okay, if you notice here in the paperwork tab, it's got not filled out, right? Once the forms have been filled out, they'll move to a different little tabby there. Okay, you can rearrange them if you want to rearrange them just by clicking the little dots on the side. Okay, so our first tab here is paperwork. If we tab over again, we get signings. Those are any signing files that have already gone out. If we want to create that, you can do it from here as well. You can do it from the edit tab, right? Or to there. You could create to-do lists. So you could create an template for a to-do list. So if you had a new listing, this might be like, hey, listing agreement signed. Here's what we need to do. So that you make sure everything's done, like pre-listing to-do list, active listing to-do list, under contract to-do list. So you can really manage it well. You can make it. The cool thing about this is, and I know ZIPForms had this a little bit as well, but if you use this with a to-do list as its full capacity, it really makes your business scalable. Okay, so me as a single agent, if I created a to-do list of here's everything I do on the pre-listing side of things, and then I go and I'm doing a lot of transactions, now I've hired an admin, it makes it really easy to say, hey, on the to-do list, here's the things that my admin's going to do. If we create that new listing, we add that to-do list, now we can separate those items out as to who's going to do what. Okay, so so we can create a list there. Here's timeline. That's going to show you what was done. Here's your list date. Here's your list expiration, and you can add events. Okay. Like this might be like active MLS day or open houses or whatever you might want to put in here. You could add to your timeline. And then here's your history of what's been done on this file. Okay. So it shows you just, hey, here's the date, here's what was done, transaction created, parties created, documents created, template applied, offer details created. Okay, so super simple there. All right, we're going to hop back over to the paperwork. So right now, this transaction is going to be, if we go back to our deal tracker, this is going to be an active clients. Okay, it is an active listing. Okay, I've got a signed listing agreement. So whether it's actually like live in the MLS versus not, I'm getting a signed listing agreement on this file. Okay. If I want to change that, right, we can go in there and hit mark as active. Okay, so now it's active. So it was, we were preparing it. It said, it had a little blue bubble here that said preparing. And now we said, hey, it's actually active. It's live. Now it shows up as active. Once we get an offer accepted, we would hit offer accepted. And now it moves it to under contract. So if we go back to our deal here, it would have said active. I should have gone back in between. You would have said preparing and then active. And now it shows up as under contract. Okay. If that offer fell through, we would mark it as fell through. And it's going to say, oh, what happened? Here's the offer details. Here's the documents. Reset and copy. Okay. Now what it's done is it's gone back and created a copy of that it's going to archive that first one. So any of those documents that were already signed by not necessarily the seller, but if they were buyer signed documents, it'll take those out of your transaction. Whereas ZIPFORMS, it just left everything in there as one long list. Okay, so here's my lost deals. It tracks those for me. You would do the same thing with a buyer, right? So if your buyer's offer didn't get accepted, you would say that it didn't get accepted and it would throw over here and then reset your RPA and stuff to be filled out for the next offer. Okay, super cool. I like it because it tracks all that for you. So I like that function of it. Are there any questions so far? Okay. So there we go. We've got our deal tracker. That's where you're going to find your transaction. See, it says one lost deal here. You can add transactions here. So a new transaction would fall into the active clients. That's I'm getting ready to send out a BRBC for signatures or sending a listing agreement out for signatures. If, excuse me, if it is going to go under a warm prospect or a hot prospect, that would just be create a relationship opportunity. The idea here is that, hey, we want to make sure we're staying on top of these and getting them moved into active clients. So those that are raising their hand saying, yeah, I think I want to buy or I think I want to sell, we want to keep these in the warm and hot prospects so that we can move them straight over. Okay, and then move people through into that close. So, right, so I can go offer accepted again into this deal. Now it shows up as under contract. And then once we close that transaction, we're going to say, hey, mark it as closed. Now, if we go back to our deal tracker, it's moved it over to closed for us. Okay. All right. So that's deal tracker, our transactions, right? That just gives us our list. Like when we were in ZIPFORMS, we had our list of transactions that were active or it shows to close there as well. So this has all transactions. We may want in progress versus closed. Okay, so now we just have our in progress transactions versus those that have closed. If we want just our closed transactions, we're just changing the little filter here on the left-hand side. Okay, you can also sort by purchases versus sales and that type of thing. Now, the other thing, if you're like, Amy, well, that's cool, but I had some transactions in ZIPFORMS that we're working through. Do I have to create those all over again? No, absolutely not. We can finish those out in here. Here at the top of this page, right underneath the white toolbar in the gray, you see it says Transact and ZipForm. If I click on ZipForms, it takes me right back over to my previous ZipForms library so that I can access anything that I might have been working on in there. So you don't have to start over. Yay, Lone Wolf. Okay, so we can just toggle between ZipForms and Transact. Okay, if you like that list, notice here my zip forms is in a list format versus a cube format. Over here, we just go table versus cards. Okay, so it gives us that, and you can also search your transactions. You can do the same thing here. We can go new transaction in this screen as well. You don't have to use deal tracker. You can just come in and use the transactions page, and you can just operate out of this as well. Okay, we have our signings. These are any signings that have been sent out. And then this is also where you have your templates. Okay, unfortunately, if you have templates in ZipForms, you have to recreate them. I wish they would have allowed us to pull over those templates, but it's super simple. Why would we use a template? Well, you saw when I started that last listing as the example that I applied the template, which pulled all the forms in for me. So if I want, that was good. So if I wanted to create a new template, I might go residential purchase. And here, the ownership is personal. If you were like the broker of the company, you could make it a universal template. And then our description here, if you wanted to add a description, I'm just going to hit create because I think it speaks for itself. And then it's going to open up blank. Okay, here's where we can add paperwork. So forms library. So maybe we want our BRBC. Maybe we want our purchase agreement. Okay, anything else that a buyer might sign, you may want to throw in there. Okay, if you're always working with another agent, you might want to use the additional agent acknowledgement. We may want to use the I can't think of what the new form is called, the referral. Right. So maybe if you work with Zillow a lot, you may want to set up a template that is residential purchase Zillow so that you have that referral fee agreement in there, right? That has the compensation disclosure that you're receiving or that you're paying out a referral fee or receiving a referral fee, right? So many options that you can do in there that way. I always use um, the wildfire disaster advisory. I have all my clients sign that. I have all my clients sign an SBSA, which is a statewide buyer and seller advisory. I have all my clients sign a market conditions advisory. Right? So we can put all of those forms into our template. The other thing that we can do from our template is we can actually open up these forms. So maybe I open up my BRBC. You can pre-fill out line items in here, the information based on what you use on a regular basis. This is the same as ZipForms. It's just in a different spot. Okay, it looks a little bit different, but same idea here. So you can go in there and make sure your information's filled out. If your BRBC is usually like 30 days, you could, set that up, or your what you normally put in as the compensation that's due to you for representing somebody. I can come in here and mark these buyer boxes. I can fill out Realty One. Oh, box, right? And I can put the license number in there. I can put my name in here, my license number. Okay. So again, we would only want to fill in, we wouldn't fill in like buyers' names because this is going to apply to every buyer transaction. Representation period, that's going to, I'm gonna leave that blank because that's actual dates. Type of representation, I always do exclusive, so I'm going to check that box. You could fill in what types of properties, single family residential, multifamily, right? What do you normally represent? Location, you could go counties, you can fill in all counties you serve here, right? You could attach the buyer's preferences and priorities so that you fill out that form, right? So anything that you would do once you're done, just hit save. Okay, so we can go in there and edit all of those forms for the template. Then what happens is when I pull that into a buyer transaction, all of this is filled out for me. I don't have to refill it out. Okay, so it makes it go a lot faster, especially when you start talking about offers and BRBCs and listing agreements that have a lot of information that need to be filled out. Okay, once we do that, there's our residential purchase templates, parties. You would make sure that you're in there as well as the buyer's broker. If you wanted it to automatically apply one of your to-do lists in here, you could set that up as well. Okay, you could set up that template for those to-dos. Okay, so that's inside Deal Tracker, transactions, signings, and templates. Okay, any questions so far? Oh, couldn't you use cover sheet for forms to automatically populate, Iris? Yes, I'm just not in the habit of using the cover sheet. I know a lot of people like the cover sheet. It was really handy to me when we used to, everything was hidden in the residential purchase agreement. But now I like it just using the form because you've got that grid format. It's super simple, but you absolutely, whatever you utilize, you could use that cover sheet. However, you would set up that cover sheet as a template, right? So that the information on there that you fill out that's the same every time, you would add that to your template. That way everything's the same. Then you would just go to the cover sheet and fill in the rest of the information. Absolutely. So there's that. Okay. So again, we got deal tracker, transactions. Okay, same stuff you're going to find on Deal Tracker, just different format. You can, I'm sure if you go up here, you can go manage account and set up your defaults to where it opens up. Okay, and how it's set up. And then what you do here is on the left-hand side, there's a drop down where it says Transact and you see the little lone wolf emblem. Okay, this is where you can move through things as well. So here's where you can zip over to ZIPFORMS. So you can go back over there. That's how you toggle between Transact and ZIPFORMS. Okay, you can go to your contacts. Okay, that's just going to have all your people you've saved as contacts in there. Okay, the other thing that you can do in here is, we'll wait for it to load. Maybe. All right. So inside of contacts, you can do some stuff as well. Like I said, you can utilize this as your CRM, your contact relationship manager, like you would OneSuite. You could use this instead if you wanted to. I was like, I don't know who David Anderson is, but he's the must be the helpline. All right. It will track how many new leads that you've added in the last 30 days. So if you're tracking that, that's a good way to keep track of it, right? We talked about that you should add some new leads each week. It'll keep track of upcoming birthdays. And if there was one, we could click on that and it would tell us who the birthdays are. Any open opportunities, partial contacts, and then how many emails have been opened in the last 30 days. Okay, so it's kind of nice that way. If I go, hey, who's the partial contacts? It'll just sort those out and say, hey, these people aren't finished. Okay, so if I go into like myself, if I just click on my name, it's going to open up my contact card. Here it's going to give me emails, phone numbers, birthdays, anniversaries, lead source. Where did this lead come from? System source. Any tags, you can add tags, the different addresses, and you can add multiple addresses. So like if I wanted to add another address here, I could do that there. Do I want this to be the mailing address? No. And then type would be maybe this is their investment property, and then hit save. Right? So it allows you to add and keep track of your client's primary residence versus their investment properties. Super handy there. Here's some notes. You can add notes about this contract, right? Every time you interact with this contact, I would recommend saving notes. So if I had a conversation with myself today, I may want to log that in here. You can sort activity. Your activity is going to be put into this timeline here. It looks like October 31st was maybe the first time I swapped over to this. And like I said, I panicked and switched right back. Here's if I can connect my Google account so that I can send out emails. Okay, just by clicking this sign in with Google. And then you also have a texting account as well. So it's got easy texting, which means you can text directly from here to your clients. You'll see in a minute, you can actually set up automatic text messages to go out. So you would create this account and then link that in. Okay. So those are your options there for notes, emails, and text messages. Here's your activity. Personal information is over here. If I click the little edit button, that's where I can update information. So maybe we're going to put in the birthday. We're going to go back in time. We went forward in time instead of back in time. All right, so we got birthdays, categories. Are they a client, vendor, agent, or lead? Right? Super important there. Client is someone who you are, working with, versus lead is someone that maybe walked through your open house, right? So this would be that captured versus connected, the zoo animal versus pet. Your client is your pet, right? Or you've connected with them. They respond to you when you message them, versus your lead is someone that may not answer your phone calls. They may not be responding to you yet. You probably had a really good conversation with them at Home Depot or the open house or wherever, but they're not super responsive yet. If they're another agent, we would tag those as agent, or a vendor would be like one of those business to business relationships, or somebody who's going to help you through your transaction. I would use these as transaction specific vendors, like your home inspectors, your title companies, those type of things. Okay. You can add more than one label. So somebody might be a vendor and a client. Okay. Or a vendor and a lead. Lead source here, was it open houses, prospecting, referral, social media, website? You can add lead sources. Okay. So maybe it's from your farm. Okay. So you can add whatever lead sources you utilize. Okay. You can keep track of their company name, their website. You can add tags here. We'll talk about tags more next week. And then you can add notes. It also has custom fields, so you can keep track of spouse's name, spouse's birthday. When it talks about hotness, I know you see spouse here and then hotness, and no, that's not what it's talking about. It's just talking about like how soon are they going to purchase. Okay, that's what it means there. We can go into manage field. Let's see. No, hold on just a second. We're going to update that contact real quick so it saves those changes. And then we're going to go, now we're going to go back into edit. Scroll down to the bottom down here and go manage fields for those custom fields. So we could add, so if we wanted to add field here, we could go home, anniversary, date, or we just home anniversary, and type would be a date. And then hit save. Maybe we want to add a field like number of kids. Type would be like probably text. Okay, so you can add custom fields in there. You can also rearrange them. Okay, so you just click on those dots and drag it around. You can also discard. So like hotness, that's kind of weird. So I'm going to throw that out. Okay, so that's how you would do that there. Just hit back. It'll take us back to that contact, and back again will take us back to this page here. Over here on the to-do list, if we added a to-do, like maybe I need to follow up with this person. So I'm going to say the title would be open house follow-up. Type would be, is it a call, an email, follow-up, task, or text? I'm going to say, hey, it's follow-up. The due date, I'm going to say, is I need to make this call on Friday. And if you wanted a specific time, you could say, hey, 12:15. And then priority, none, low, medium, or high. I'm going to say, hey, it's medium priority. And this relates to, it automatically pulls in this contact, and we're going to click add to do. Okay, so now it's got that to do created in there. Okay, so super handy there. I just hit the little X to close out of the to-do list. Calendar, if I wanted to add an event, maybe I scheduled a buyer consultation. Buyer consultation.
There you go. I try to make sure that I get the mail when I check.
Hey, Vanessa, do you mind muting yourself? I don't know that I can mute you. Thank you. All right. Location, where's the buyer consultation? Maybe it's 11. Oops, I'm not on that window anymore. 11 Town Square. No problem, Vanessa. All right, start date. Maybe that I'm calling to follow up with them on Friday, but we scheduled it for Monday, or maybe I'd scheduled it for Saturday. So really that call on Fridays to check in with them, and it's going to be at we don't want it at 3 a.m. We're going to aim down here for more like 1 p.m. Okay, and then when's the end date? The end date's going to be on the same as the start date at, it starts everything at 12 a.m. But notice those are all grayed out because it's like, hey, your end time's before your start time. And I'm going to say it's going to be an hour, right? What calendar do you want it on there? So if you linked your Google account, it'll probably link that. So it'll throw it right on your Google Calendar. If we wanted any notes, we could do that as well. And then you would hit add event. Now it's created that event as well. Again, if I hit this little X right here, it closes that window out. So I give all the other things. Okay. If we created an opportunity for this person, right? Are they buyer or seller, stage new, qualifying? Right? If they getting pre-qualified, are we nurturing them? Are they cold, right? Are they not responding? Are they preparing for a purchase? Are they searching? Are they active under contract or closed? We have lots of options there. So I might be like, hey, this is a nurturer because we are meeting for a buyer consultation. And then are they warm or hot? Right? None, warm or hot. I'm gonna say, hey, they're pretty warm. Maybe they're hot because they're actually meeting with me. Okay. And then we could put in like what they're looking for here. Maybe they're looking in Vacaville. Okay. I think if we comma it, let's try that. Fairfield. Okay, we could put where they're searching, states, zip codes. Maybe they're looking for something that's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. What's their budget? This is their minimum versus their maximum. And what's their timing? Immediate, 1 to 3 months, or 3 to 6 months. Right? We're going to say, hey, this is immediate, and hit save. So now it's linked that opportunities. If I had created this opportunities inside of the Transact, right, then it would automatically show it here as well. And then if I added an address, and so it added that in here, so I could come in here. Oops. It took me out of that screen. I don't know why. Oh, hold on. It just opened up a new screen. So I'm just seeing where it's taking me because I clicked on that transaction. All right. It went ahead and added that as a transaction. So I'm going to mark it as closed. because I added it as an address. That's kind of weird that it did that, but that's all right. Um, so anyways, that'll show up as closed over here. All right, so there is inside of your contacts. You can export or you can delete this contact as well. All right, you can also go back to your contacts. Okay, so I'd recommend inserting yourself as a contact so that you have that information. Now it's got, hey, there's an upcoming birthday, there's an open opportunity, and we've got 3 partial contacts. So right now I've got it set for partial contacts. So I just unclicked that little box there. So now it's showing all my contacts. So this is what a completed contact looks like more so. Okay. And now if I went back to, from relationships back to Transact, I just wanted to show you this. Why am I showing you this? Because ultimately, I feel like this is more user-friendly than OneSuite. OneSuite does have a website though, which is nice, but this to me is a little bit more user-friendly. It also has more availability for automation than OneSuite does. Barbara, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. When we were in the previous screen where you could mark as active or um closed, fell through.
Uh-huh.
I have a listing in there that's not quite a listing yet, and I accidentally clicked the thing and now it says it's under contract. So it's not. How do I get back out of that? How do I
Yeah, so
cancel that? It
yeah.
won't let me do anything.
Yeah, so what you did here is we went here and we went marked as active, so it shows up as active, and you're like, how do I get out of here now? These are really good questions that I don't have answers for. Let's see if we can play around with that here. Undo
Because
status
it's,
update. See in the upper corner here on the right-hand side, the 3 little dots? Undo
yeah.
status update. Are you sure you want to take your transaction back to preparing? Yes, I do.
Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. I was
There we
like,
go.
whoops.
Crisis averted.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so your
Let's
3
see.
little dots up here, that'll
I
let
do
you
have
go
one more
backwards.
question. I do have one more
Yeah.
question. So in there, when you're looking at documents, I didn't realize I was already had information in the site, but I didn't realize that they had changed it. You used to be able to put your cursor over the document and it would show you visually the document. Uh,
Yes.
if you wonder, it doesn't do that anymore. And how do I open that to look at it? Does it let you do that, or do you have to be in a different, obviously, maybe
Yeah,
a different?
if you just click on the document, it should open that document up.
It okay, it should, but my site, it's not letting me. There must be something wrong with the site because it just gives me a blank page.
Oh, well, that's
Unfortunately.
rude.
Yeah.
Um, was it and you created it inside of the Transact, not ZIPForms, correct?
Yeah. I don't know. It's here. Oh, let me see if I can turn my camera around. I can't see myself, so hold on. Oh, there we go.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna stop share so I make you a little bit bigger. And all right, so you have paperwork not filled. Oh,
There we go.
and then was it something that was filled out and signed already?
No, no, this is just stuff I put in the folder to do later. I don't even have the listing yet. It's just a in process, and I don't know how I
Okay.
managed to get it in here. It's been so long. I'm like, I don't know. This was back in October, so
Okay. Yeah. When they were really pushing you to switch over and it was scary. Um,
if I
so go
click
ahead.
it, it
Yeah.
just goes blank. Yeah, it just goes to a blank screen. Anyway, maybe because it's not.
Yeah, what
fill
you
that.
may need to do, because it's been so long, you may have to go in there and delete those forms and then re-add them in, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know why it would do that. You could also call the help, if you go into your contacts, it's got that guy's name, so you could reach out to him, give him a call and ask him. He might have a better answer than that for how to get that to not be blank. But I would try maybe re-adding that form in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a better answer than that. All right, I'm resharing my screen now. Give me just a second. There we go. And I've got the chat window still, so we're good. All right, so we're gonna hop back over. So I'm gonna go back to deal tracker here in the upper left-hand corner, drop down transact. That was in contacts, right? So we were inside of contacts. If you use DocuSign too in the upper right-hand corner, your little preferences, that's where you'd probably select DocuSign. I trained on Authentisign, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. But it's free and it is as easy, as simple to use as DocuSign, if not more user-friendly now. So I would stop paying for DocuSign if you are. That's just my recommendation. But here we are back to contacts. All right, so if I go to click to do on the upper toolbar here across the top, it's going to pull up any of my things that are on my to-do list. What's due today, what's overdue, and what's upcoming, right? So here's my upcoming. It tells me when it's going to be due. If it was overdue, right? So I could run my business out of this. And to me, it's a little bit more user-friendly than OneSuite. So just throwing that out there. You can add new to-dos. You can find to-dos in here. Okay. If we go to our calendar, it'll show us what appointments we have scheduled. So I have a buyer consultation. I have open house follow-up. Notice here it shows me my to-dos as well as my appointments on this calendar. Okay. We're going to skip right along. Contacts is where we started. So I'm going to skip over that one. Communicate. Here's our inbox, our sent, our scheduled, and our templates. Okay, so you can set up templates in here, which is super handy because if you've attended any of like my seller trainings, I have seller templates that get sent out to every seller once we have a listing agreement signed. I can throw those templates in here and send them out through this. It also has pre-set up templates already. Like, hey, are you interested in getting more information about a property? It's got some drip campaigns already in here. Let's schedule a home tour. Is your loan information current? This is your agent checking in, right? How's your search progressing? Is there anything we can do to help? Like maybe somebody who's not using you yet that was looking for properties. This might be a good way to just stay in contact with them. Achieving success together, right? So it's got all of these cool email templates already in here. Okay. I haven't looked at Follow Up Boss yet, but this has a lot of good options. Okay. It also has templates for text messages. So you set up that text integration. Okay. It's going to cost you some money for each text that you send. It's going to be okay. It's usually a couple pennies. But look, seller check-in text messages already set to go. We can send them straight from here. And then we have a track record of all the text messages sent and received. Okay. Follow up consent reminder, initial consent request. So it's got super cool, quick intro. You can edit these templates. You can add new templates in here. So this is where you're going to find under communicate templates. Okay. If there was something that was sent, it would show up in communicate sent. I haven't leaked my account yet, and it probably will show you if they've opened it or not. So it's going to track those opens for you. Okay, so that's under communicate. Okay, the next thing that you have here is automations. Super cool here because we can set up autoresponder campaigns, which means that we could set up an open house follow-up plan. So all of our contacts that went through our open house, we can put them in here. We can add them to the open house follow-up, right? It's got some already pre-designed in here, but and it's also got some from templates, okay? Or you can create your own. right? So send welcome email to leads, update your contact when an opportunity changes, send contact an email on their birthday. You can set it up to send them a text message on their birthday. How cool is that? You can go new automation. Okay, so here's how this automation system works. It's kind of like little boxes. We could go start from template. Maybe we want to go send contact email on their birthday. So maybe we're going to start with this template. But instead of when it's the contact's birthday is the first thing, optionally filter out records that trigger this automation. So we're going to leave this just blank so it goes through all of our contacts. And maybe instead of send an email, maybe we're like, hey, we don't want it to be an email. We want it to be a text message. Next. So I just selected send a text. See, it's got little options. Here's the text messages. Happy birthday, Amy, right? You could say more than that. 2 would be just contact primary phone number. Okay, we're just going to fill that out there. We're going to hit next. Name this automation. It's going to be send contact text. On their birthday. Right? And then we hit save. Now on the birthday, that's if you have your text integration set up, if you assign this automation to somebody, it would automatically send them a text messages on their birthday. You don't even have to remember to do that anymore. Now, you could set up a whole birthday campaign, right? So you could set up a whole campaign where like 7 days before their birthday, it would prompt you to, um, or on their birthday, right? It would set them to, um, like maybe comment on their social media. It would assign a task, then maybe send them an email, and then maybe it prompts you to remember to send a card in the mail. Okay. And then also sends them that automated text messages on their birthday, right? So lots of options there. Earlier this morning, I came in here and created this post closing action. I think it took me about 30 minutes to do this. And so I just created this. Hold on. It's way off to the side. I don't know how to get back over. That's sad. All right, hold on. Oh, let's see. Here we go. All right, so down here in the bottom corner, there was a little picture of this map. And if I clicked on the little white box and drag it about, it can drag me to that flow chart, right? It creates a flow chart. So I said, hey, when an opportunity is updated, and then I put, hey, when it equals closed, right? And it was a buyer. So this was a buyer closed campaign. Then the next step is that, hey, as soon as that's done, it's going to create a to-do that says update the address. Okay, update contact's address. So, right, send them a congratulations card. It's give me a second to do. It's going to automatically update the contact record. It's going to tag them as a homeowner. It's going to put them as a client, and then it's going to take them out of the hot lead category. And then it's also going to create a to-do for me to purchase their closing gift. Okay, I don't like to do closing gifts at close of escrow. I do them after. So once it closed, this would prompt me to do that purchase. Okay, then it's going to delay 1 day. And then the next day, so day after the 2 days after their closing, it's going to say, hey, send closing, I don't know what this is, closing statement to them. So it's going to prompt me to make sure they have a copy of their closing statement. Now it's going to delay 3 days after that. And then it says, hey, send home warranty information. So I created a to-do. So it's going to remind me to send them their home warranty information. Then it's going to delay 3 more days. It's going to automatically send out an email asking for reviews, at which point I can link all the places that I want reviews in there so that people can send me reviews. And then also gives me a call to check in on them. So, right, so I can call them up. how are things going? Hey, just so you know, expect to find an email. I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave me some reviews. That would mean the world to me, right? So it's going to do both of those things on that day. Then it's going to delay a week after that. And then it's going to create a to-do list to send them an email with all the documents from their transaction, right? I'm about a week and a half, 2 weeks out of closing. And it's also going to prompt me to ask for referrals, okay, to do a follow-up. Then it's going to delay 7 days. And then it's going to say, hey, now it's time to drop off that closing gift. We're about 3 weeks out. And then it's going to delay 11 months and create a to-do to send them their RPR report, right? Where is their current home value with a home anniversary card, right? So I could easily set that up, and then you could set up like home anniversary. It would roll to a home anniversary action plan, right? So you can assign this. So this was super simple to do. We can do a class all on how to create these automations. Maybe I'll do a couple and show you how to set those up. But super cool, super easy. And again, you can automate those text messages and automate those emails to go straight out from the system so you don't have to mess with them. Personally, if it were me, I was in full production, I would probably start using this as my CRM only because it's so much more user friendly. If I was looking for a free CRM option, okay, I would use this because it's so much more user friendly. They already have some templates set up. They've got lots of emails already set up inside of that. Communicate those emails and text messages. I think it's user friendly. I think it's easy to manage, and it's tied right into those transactions. So I kind of like that. So there's your brief tour through Transact. It's not scary. Again, if you wanted to just live in Transact, you could do that as well. It operates very much like ZIPFORMS, and you can toggle between Transact and ZIPFORMS for the time being. I would start creating all your new transactions though inside of Transact, not ZIPFORMS. Okay, then you can toggle over here, Authentisign to send out signature packets. You've got contacts, relationships, Transact. Okay. Um, this takes you to your home page. I don't know what that looks like, but let's see what that looks like. Oh, look at you've got all these different things in here, the little tabbies. My dashboard's not fully set up yet. It says to set it up. Recent transactions, relationships, and then it's got market data for US national market data in there. You can move stuff about. You can edit each page. So anyways, so there is your tour. Any questions, thoughts? Hopefully it doesn't seem as scary as it did before. Like I said, I know I panicked at the beginning and was like, how do I get back to my regular ZIPFORMS? But it's not that scary, guys. You're welcome, Vanessa. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Next week, we're going to talk about how to put your people into your database, whether it's this one or OneSuite. We'll talk about the importance of tagging them appropriately, labeling them appropriately. What labels should you be using? What tags? How should you be setting people up? So we'll talk about all that next week on Tuesday. It ties in again to that 100 days of greatness, to the actions that need to be done in that. So if you haven't signed up for that, highly recommend it. But otherwise, you'll learn a lot next week just talking about database. So we will see you next week. If you have any questions between now and then, feel free to reach out. Have a fabulous day and Happy New Year.